Hi there, welcome to live stream Yoga with Louise, tips and cues to keep you safe and strong on the mat. Today's class is all about getting rid of the old so that you can take on the new. Well, I want you to consistently purge the body of all things old, stale, and negative. Think stale air, old cells, negative thoughts. And so, in that sense, we're going to be cleansing and detoxifying the body, making space for fresh air, new cells, positive thoughts. Breath is going to be crucial in today's class, and we're going to establish that connection from the get go by playing with Ujjayi breath or ocean breath. I want you to look for opportunities during today's class to apply your Ujjayi breath, especially the exhalation component of the breath, so that you're consistently purging the body as you're moving on the mat today. As always, I'd like you to play where you're comfortable, modifying where you need to, using props where appropriate, and feel comfortable to take a time out by coming to child pose at any time during the class should you need it. You ready to play? Let's hit the mat. We're going to set up for today's class by coming to a seated frame. In fact, we're going to be spending most of our time low to the mat today. Maybe tuck into easy sit, Sukhasana. I'm going to start with my left leg leading in front of the right, and you're going to just drop the hands, palms down onto the knees, lengthen through the spine, giving me a long line from the tailbone to the crown. Pull the belly button gently in, and we're going to start with Ujjayi ocean breath. You're going to be inhaling and exhaling through the nose exclusively, keeping the mouth closed. As you inhale in, I'd like you to constrict the glottis, almost making a soft sobbing sound so that there's an audible sound as you inhale. It's going to sound something like this. Then exhale forcibly as if you were pushing air through a straw. You're going to rinse and repeat, making an audible, almost ocean wave-like sound on the inhalation and the exhalation. Maybe close your eyes and take your focus in. You're either going to stay here or you're going to add a third component, kumbhaka, or retention of the breath. If you're pregnant or prone to any lightheadedness, omit this component and just stay with the inhalation and the exhalation. On your next inhalation, as you take the air in, when you get to the end of your exhalation, you're going to pull up the pelvic floor, the Mula Bandha, and you're going to nod your chin to your chest, the Jalandhara Bandha, effectively trapping the air in your torso. You're going to hold it there for a few seconds. And then as you exhale, you're going to unlock the chin and the pelvic floor. Let's rinse and repeat. Keep rinsing and repeating. Traditionally, we would use exhalation on the right nostril only for Ujjayi breath, but today we're using both nostrils. Give me one last breath cycle of Ujjayi breath. Then change the cross of your legs, leading with the right leg in front of the left. You're going to start up nice and tall and take a big inhale in through your nose. On the exhale, you're going to twist to the right, cupping opposite hand to knee and really squeezing all of that stale air out through the lungs. Inhale, come back to the center line, let's say for a count of 5. Exhale as you twist for 10. Focusing on the exhalation component of your breath to get that air out. Let's rinse and repeat. Big inhale as you come back towards the center line. Exhale as you twist, squeezing, purging all the old air out of the diaphragm. Inhale to come back to the center line. Exhale to twist and purge. Starting to give the lower viscera a nice little massage as you gently find a breathing rhythm of your own. Make sure as you're moving on the mat that you're not rounding out from the spine and that you're keeping the spine nice and long and lengthened. Let's do one more to each side. As you complete your last breath and come back to the center line, drop both hands behind your hips and uncurl your legs, placing the soles of your feet on the mat. Take a big breath in to prepare, and on the exhale, drop both knees to the right as you gently look to the left. Inhale to plant both feet firmly on the mat. Exhale to knife edge your feet as you take it to the other side. You're going to rinse and repeat, finding a steady rhythm of your own, using the exhale to drop and hold, and using the inhale to come back to the center line. Remember to give me a nice audible ujjayi exhalation and think of getting rid of all the stale air on the exhalation. You're either going to stay here, or the next time you come back to the first side, you're going to rotate slightly on the mat, almost squaring up through the legs, the left knee along the side of the mat with the knee and the ankle in a straight line, and the right knee and the ankle in a straight line as you softly fold forward, trying to bring your chest towards the right knee and just giving me little spider fingertips on the mat. You're going to rinse and repeat. Inhale as you transition through the center line. Exhale as you drop low to the floor, pulling your belly button in. Inhale as you come up. Think of really squeezing from the diaphragm, from the pelvic floor as you go forward. So you're giving me a nice little engagement of the lower two bandhas, the pelvic floor and the diaphragm as you lean forward. Think of squeezing, pulling up and purging the air. One more to each side. As you come back to the first side, you're going to tuck into a little mermaid frame, lining up the knee and the ankle and taking the back knee and tucking it into the insole of the front leg. You're going to sit up nice and tall, long line through the spine. On an exhale, you're going to twist softly to one side, cupping opposite hand to leg. Inhale to come back to the center line. Exhale to twist and purge to the other side. You're going to find a steady breath rhythm of your own, remembering to give me an audible ujjayi exhalation and think of purging as you twist. Think of pulling up softly on the pelvic floor, allowing the diaphragm to constrict slightly so that you're purging on the lower two locks as you move side to side. As you complete your last one, you're either going to stay here or you're going to bring it into a little Vajrasana twist by focusing on the leg that's bent and tucked closest to your bottom. You're going to tuck that leg in even closer, trying to sit your bum cheeks around that foot, and then take the lead leg, trying to tuck it into a half lotus line, allowing your opposite knee to connect to the mat. If the knee is hanging in the air, you can maybe reach for a block and tuck a block underneath the knee. You could even tuck an additional block underneath your bum cheek on the left if you need to, for a little bit of support. You're going to find your Vajrasana twist. You're going to start up nice and tall along the center line. Big inhale in to prepare. On the exhale, twist softly to one side, opposite hand to leg. Inhale to come back to the center line. Exhale to twist and purge. Inhale to come back to the center line. Exhale to twist and purge. Let's do a few more to each side, trying to keep that half lotus line. And then on your last twist, you're going to try and hold that twist to the one side, or you're going to float the hand behind your back, giving me a little big toe lock, taking your middle index finger and thumb, reaching for that toe, and then wrapping the other arm softly around the opposite hip while you look over the back shoulder and hold your mini bind. If you can't connect to the foot, maybe just cup both rib cages on both sides or both hip bones on both sides and just hold a long line through your spine. Then gently unwrap, come back to the center line, tuck back into easy sit, this time leading with your left leg in front. We're going to flow through, this time looking for a little bit more fluidity as we move. Big breath in, on an exhale, twist to one side, opposite hand to knee. Inhale, come back to the center line. Exhale, twist and rotate to the other side. Look for opportunities to give me a nice audible exhale. As you exhale, remember to pull up from the pelvic floor and constrict the diaphragm slightly as you move into the twist so that you're really purging, getting rid of all the stale air that's stuck in the lower portion of the diaphragm. As you come back on your last one, you're going to uncouple the legs, placing soles of both feet on the floor. On an exhale, drop both knees to the left as you look to the right. Inhale, come back to the center line, planting your feet firmly on the floor. Exhale to knife edge your feet in the opposite direction as you drop the knees. Find a steady rhythm of your own. Think of really dropping and weighting both knees as you knife edge the feet. And pull up from the pelvic floor, squeeze in the diaphragm slightly, using your lower two locks as you come into the exhale to really purge the lower viscera, get rid of all that staleness that's stuck in the lower section of the digestive system. We're going to morph into our next variant, either staying here or the next time you move to the left. Think of squaring up the knee and the ankle on the lead leg. Square up the knee and the ankle on the other leg, lining up with the edges of your mat, and take a soft little forward fold, thinking chest to knee as you come forward. Inhale to transition. And give me a nice little spider fingertips on the mat as you gently find a rhythm of your own. Nice audible exhale. As you come down to the mat, inhale to transition. Squeeze up through those lower two bandhas, the pelvic floor, the Mula Bandha, and the diaphragm, the Uddiyana Bandha. Last one to the right. The next time you move to the left, transition into a little mermaid frame by tucking the knee of the back leg into the insole of the front leg, sitting up nice and tall, find length through your spine. Exhale to twist softly to one side, cupping opposite hand to leg. Inhale to come back to the center line. Exhale to twist to the other side. As you're moving side to side, try to get a sense of whether you're leaning aggressively to one side. If you are, try to straighten up along the midline of the body as if you were trying to have the weight bearing equal on both sides of your spine. So you're not hanging aggressively to one side. You're finding that center line and you're keeping yourself there. Let's do one more to each side. Either staying or morphing into Bhadrasana by taking the heel of the right leg, tucking it underneath your body, sitting your bum cheeks around the heel of the foot, reaching for the front leg and trying to tuck it into the half lotus line, using a block if you need to. Sit up nice and tall. On the exhale, twist softly to one side. Inhale, come back. Exhale, twist to the other side. Find a steady rhythm of your own. Make sure that you're giving me that nice audible exhale, using that Ujjayi breath to purge. Then maybe looking for an opportunity on your last twist to gently float the same hand as your lead leg, your lotus leg. See if you can reach for that toe, make a connection, and then just gently cup your opposite hip with the other hand, or just gently cup the rib cage on both sides or the hip bones on both sides. If the toe is not accessible, you could even use a strap around the foot to try to help you make that connection. Find the bind and just hold it softly for a few seconds, keeping that beautiful length through your spine. Then you're gently going to uncouple and you're going to find your way into a kneeling frame on the mat. Hips stacked over the knees, feet soft and relaxed behind you. You're going to give me a little T-frame through the arms, and you're going to give me half a rotation side to side, using your Ujjayi exhalation as you twist off the center line. As you're moving side to side and finding that pattern with your breath, I want you to softly draw up along the inner thighs, pull up softly from the pelvic floor through the diaphragm to just underneath your chest. Maybe tracking and moving with your head as you move side to side, finding your way back to the center every time to your drishti or your focal point. Let's do one more to each side, and then we'll come into a little camel flow. As you come back to the center line, just to find your sense of balance if you're feeling dizzy, bring your hands to prayer, but nice and high so that you can see both thumbnails in front of your eye line, and keep looking at the thumbnails just to center you if you're feeling dizzy for any reason. Then softly drop the arms at your sides, side view. You've got the legs nice and relaxed behind you, bridges of the feet stacking behind your knee line. Start nice and tall with your shoulders over your hips and your hips over your knees. Take a big breath in, and on an exhale, come into a supported back bend by cupping your bum cheeks and looking gently up to the ceiling. Cup from the bottom up, so almost lifting your bum up. Then nod your chin to your chest and drop the arms at your sides. You're going to find a steady rhythm of your own. Nice big inhale as you come into the back bend. Exhale as you nod your chin to your chest, giving me a soft engagement of all three bandhas as you drop in. So you're pulling up from the pelvic floor, you're constricting or pushing down through the diaphragm, and then you're applying the chin lock, the Jalandhara bandha. Remember to look for opportunities as you're moving on the mat to use your Ujjayi breath. Most importantly, the strong, almost forcible exhalation to keep purging. As you're playing with your modification of camel, Ustrasana, I want you to find all three locks as you gently nod your chin to your chest. Let's do one more cycle, then we're going to find our way to a seated frame. So gently drop back onto the heels, scooch off to one side and extend the legs out in front of you, making your way towards the top end of the mat so that you've got a little bit of playroom behind you. Open up your feet and your knees hip width distance apart and float the arms at your side, fingertips and palms looking down into the mat. We're going to start off in staff pose, and then we're going to morph into a little tabletop line on the mat. Draw the hands back till they line up underneath your armpits. Bend the knees and push the hips and the belly up towards the ceiling, coming into a little tabletop line. Drop the bum to the mat and softly come back to your start position on the mat. You're going to rinse and repeat, finding a little steady rhythm of your own, and remember to use your Ujjayi breath. Play with the breath pattern. Find an inhalation and an exhalation pattern that works for you. Maybe giving me a nice big inhale as you come into the table, and focus on maybe exhaling as you come into the staff pose. As you exhale, pull up from the pelvic floor and give me a nice little soft constriction of the diaphragm. Keep your feet and your knees hip-width distance apart, and make sure that you're giving me a nice square table form so that the weight distribution is equal on the arms and the legs as you come into that little tabletop line. Try to bring both hips up evenly towards the ceiling, and resist the temptation to lead with your stronger side as you're moving on the mat. Let's do 4 more, and then we're going to bring it down onto the elbows from here. As you complete your last cycle, sit in seated nice and tall. Bend the elbows and stack them underneath your armpits with the legs soft and relaxed. In parallel, you could even clip them together along the midline of the body. You're going to give me a single leg lift up and down on the exhale. Keep your chin softly looking down, but don't collapse your frame, so push through the elbows and the forearms. Let's change sides. Exhaling every time you bring the leg up, and inhaling to come back to your hovering leg position on the mat. So you're giving me a nice little opportunity to pull up the pelvic floor and squeeze, purge through the lower viscera. As you complete your last one, softly bend the knees, connect the soles of the feet to the mat, and scooch down so that you're lying on the back. Float your hands overhead and start with your knees bent. And then if you feel comfortable here, you can bring the legs into extension. Begin in neutral spine with a little space between your lower back and the mat. On the exhale, you're going to scoop and peel up, drawing the legs into table and hovering the arms off the mat. Inhale to reconnect softly to the mat. Exhale to scoop and come up. Inhale to float back down. As you scoop and come up, give me a nice audible exhale. Think of pulling up through the pelvic floor, constricting the diaphragm, and softly applying your chin lock. So you're using all 3 bandhas, the Mula Bandha, the Uddiyana Bandha, and the Jalandhara Bandha. If you want to add a little bit more core work, you can float the legs into extension, inhaling and floating and hovering your arms and legs off the mat. Exhale as you bring the legs up to 90. Whether you're using a bent leg or an extended leg, I want you to try to connect through all 3 bandhas and give me a nice audible Ujjayi exhalation as you think of constricting through the core. Remember to inhale and exhale exclusively through the nose if you can. Building up a little bit of heat and detoxifying at the same time. As you complete your last cycle, gently bend the knees, connect the soles of the feet to the mat. If you're feeling any discomfort in the lower back, softly hug the knees in towards the chest. If your hips are feeling tight, Maybe giving me a few circles in one direction and a few in the other just to release. Then we're gently going to roll over to one side and you're going to set yourself up in a 4-point kneeling frame on your mat. From your 4-point kneeling frame, check that your hands are more or less shoulder width apart, hip width distance apart. You're going to tuck your toes under, float your bum up to the ceiling, find a down dog, and then come through a plank line, finding a gentle up dog before you exhale and hit your down dog. So you're moving dynamically between an up dog and a down dog, and you're transitioning through the plank line with control, nice and strong through the shoulders, nice and strong through the core. If you find that this is a bit vigorous for you, you can use a bent knee and drop to 4-point kneeling before floating back to your down dog. Experiment with the leg line and find a flow that works for you. Look for opportunities when you hit the down dog frame to find that pull up through the pelvic floor and that gentle almost squeeze in through the diaphragm, almost as if somebody was gently pushing down on the breastbone. You're going to end in a soft down dog frame. Hold it, taking a nice little stretch here, making sure that you're working the front and the back chain of the body, not leaning into the wrist line, but rather softly drawing energy up through your fingertips, almost hollowing out through the palm. Feel the energy coursing through the arms, through the chest, through the upper back and shoulders. Then softly drop to a 4-point kneeling frame. We're just going to do a few cat-cows. Start by inhaling to prepare, taking your chin and your bum bones to the ceiling and hollowing out in cow. And then on an exhale, nod your chin to your chest, round out in cat, pulling up the pelvic floor, squeezing in the diaphragm, applying the chin lock. Inhale to release. Exhale to round out. So you're holding the cat for a little bit longer than the cow, looking for the opportunity to connect to all 3 bandhas. So maybe inhaling, let's say, for a count of 5. And then exhaling and rounding out maybe for a count of 10 as you strongly try to find that connection with your bandhas. Then gently find your way to neutral and take a big step with the right leg to the outside of the right hand. Maybe creeping your hands forward slightly and leaning forward over your mat as if you wanted to hook the chin over the edge of your mat. Either staying there or taking your right foot out slightly at an angle, let's say a 45-degree angle, and then creeping the foot forward and knife edging the foot so that as you lean forward, you feel quite an intense stretch from the inside of your knee, feeding along the inseam of the leg towards the groin area. If you feel that the stretch is too much, you can slightly bump your weight back, extending through the front leg, maybe just playing with the movement and gently extending, walking the weight back slightly and then coming back into your lizard stretch. You're either going to hold the modified lizard, Uttan Kristasana, or you're going to marry it with a little tiger bind. Look over the right shoulder, bend that back leg that was connected to the mat, see if you can make a connection to the foot, and then gently bump the weight forward again, getting a nice intense stretch up the quad of the back leg, and keep looking over the back shoulder as if you were looking for that foot. Try to keep your front right foot knife-edged so that you can feel that intense stretch along the inseam of the leg. Hold. From here, you're going to gently unbind, finding your way back to your original lizard flame. Sweep the right leg back, coming back into a loose 4-point kneeling frame. We're going to caterpillar down and come straight into a high cobra line. You're going to bend through the elbows, but don't chicken wing them. Keep hugging them in towards the rib cage. Try to scoop, drag the weight forward, and then brush straight up into a high cobra line with the arms fully extended if you can, and the weight resting softly on the knees. If this is too much for your back, come all the way down onto the belly and just peel up, stopping with your bottom ribs still connected, and just give me a baby cobra. So just play with it, see what works for you. Wherever you're playing, take a big breath in to prepare. And on the exhale, slowly rotate and look over the left shoulder as if you were looking for the back edge of your mat. Pausing there for a second, nice and strong through the core. Inhale to come back through the center line. Exhale to peep over the opposite shoulder. Inhale to come back to the center line. Exhale to twist and rotate. Make sure you're not collapsing through the arms, so you're pushing that mat strongly away. Inhale to come back to center. Exhale to peep over the other shoulder. Inhale as you find your way back to the center line, and then find your way gently down to the mat. As you reconnect to the mat, slide the right arm forward as if you were setting up a sphinx line, and rotate the palm in so that it's parallel, so that your whole forearm is parallel to the front of your mat. And then rotate onto the right side of your body, trying to stack your hips, your knees, and your ankles. Brace the other hand softly, palms down into the mat, and give me little spider fingertips on the mat while pushing strongly down through your forearm on the right. You're going to take a big inhale in to prepare, and on the exhale, think of tucking your knees in as if you wanted to tap your knees towards your nose. Inhale to extend and hover. Exhale to tuck. Inhale to open up. And then start playing with your eye line as you extend, maybe looking over that palm that's connected to the mat. As you exhale, look towards your knees. Inhale, look down towards your palm. Exhale, look towards your knees. Find a little pattern of your own. As you draw the knees in and look towards the knees, pull up the pelvic floor, constrict the diaphragm, and think of applying a soft chin lock. So looking for an opportunity again to connect to all three bandhas as you play. Let's do two more, and then we'll find our way from here back into a 4-point kneeling frame on the mat. As you find your way back, take a big breath in and float the right arm up to the ceiling. On an exhale, we're going to thread the needle. You're going to tuck underneath your left armpit, bringing the side of your head to the mat, not leaning into the mat, so pushing back softly through the hips and stacking your hips over your knees. Inhale and float softly back up into your T-frame. Exhale to thread, looking for that connection through your bandhas, and maybe floating the left arm up to the ceiling so that you can lengthen through that top arm, always trying to tap the sky. Keep your belly button softly pulled in. Come back, take a big inhale in and float your right arm up to the ceiling. As you thread and tuck on the last one, float back into your soft T-frame, or bend that top arm behind your back, rotating the palm in and reaching for the opposite hip, giving me a nice strong Ujjayi exhalation and purging all of the staleness out of the lower viscera. Inhale to gently come back to a 4-point kneeling frame. You're going to gently come into a deep squat line, stepping both feet out to the side as wide as you need to, either heels off or heels connected if you can, bringing your hands to prayer and pushing with the elbows on the inside of your knees as you open up through the chest. Think of allowing the two shoulder blades to come close together behind your back and almost dropping down towards your lower back. Push actively with your elbows against the inside of the knee so that you're feeling that stretch along the inner thighs, and drop both bum bones down towards the floor. Either staying here in Malasana or playing with a little dynamic floating frog. Bring your fingertips to the floor, almost as if you were setting up a crow line, and heel toe your feet in. Come into a soft butterfly float. So side view, you've got your heels off the floor. Front view, you've got the weight on your toes with the heels touching and the knees softly splayed out to the side. Start with the hands soft and relaxed, back of your hands connected to the knees. On an inhale, float into a standing frame, maybe tapping both hands overhead, yeah? as you extend through the legs, trying to keep the heels off the floor. And you're just going to float dynamically, inhaling as you come up, exhaling as you come down. Play with the breath pattern, find what works for you, but use the movement dynamically. If this is too much for you, just stay low to the floor in your original squat line and just hold the squat line, or you could come to a standing frame and just float the hands overhead and alongside, overhead and alongside. Play where you're comfortable. Let's do one more float. Then come gently back down to the mat, find your original 4-point kneeling frame on the mat, and find your cat-cow rhythm. Inhaling to prepare as you give me a concave shape, exhaling to round out, nodding your chin to your chest. Find a steady breath rhythm of your own, looking for that mindful connection through the lower 3 locks or bandhas as you round out. So holding the rounded cat frame, pulling up through the pelvic floor, squeezing in the diaphragm lock, applying the chin lock, pausing there before you release from the chin lock through the diaphragm lock to the pelvic floor. Let's do one more cycle, then we're going to find our way from here into a lizard line. Ease your way into a tabletop line, somewhere between the cat and the cow. Take a big step out with the left leg to the outside of the left hand. Leaning the weight slightly forward as if you wanted to hook your chin over the edge of the mat and getting a nice little stretch into that turkey waddle. Bonus! All right, focus on your front leg, maybe taking it slightly out to about a 45-degree angle, creeping it forward, knife edging the foot. Feel that wrap from the inside of the left knee along the inseam. If the hips are really tight, play with the movement dynamically. Maybe stretching the legs slightly out as you bump the weight back over your hip on the right and then coming back into the stretch. Maybe just moving through it dynamically. So you're coming into a modified off-center monkey guard just to prepare the joints if they're feeling particularly tight. Maybe if you did a lot of couch surfing this weekend. All right, hold your little lizard stretch, or you're going to come into a soft bind by reaching opposite hand to foot, reach for the heel of that back leg, and then gently come back into your lizard line, trying to keep the left front foot knife-edged as you keep peeking over that back shoulder, almost as if somebody was standing behind your mat and you were just trying to sneak a peek at them. Nice stretch up that lead quad. You're going to ease your way back into 4-point kneeling, and we're going to caterpillar straight down into a cobra line. Keep hugging the elbows in, almost scoop the mat away and peel up into a high cobra line or a low cobra line if a high line is not for you. Take a big breath in to prepare. On the exhale, peek over one shoulder for the back edge of your mat. Inhale to come back. Nice ujjayi exhalation. As you look over the other shoulder. Inhale to come back. Ujjayi exhalation as you rotate to peek over that shoulder. Inhale to come back. Exhale as you peek over that shoulder. From here, gently find your way down to the mat. Drop onto the left forearm, lining up that elbow underneath your armpit. Rotate the arm in, flip to the left, stacking your hips, your knees, and your ankles, and using your right fingertips on the mat to find your support. Exhale as you draw the knees in towards the nose. Inhale to extend and hover. Exhale, draw the knees in towards the nose. Exhale to extend, and then start playing with your eye line. Look towards the knees as you tuck in, and as you come into extension, look down at that left hand that is softly bracing and supporting you and giving you a nice modified side plank line. Keep nice and high through the ribs, so don't collapse through the rib cage. Pretend that you've got a little ball underneath your rib cage on the left. Nice audible exhale. From here, you're going to ease your way back into a 4-point kneeling frame on the mat, and we're going to thread the needle dynamically. Sukhi Randasana. Big breath in. Float the left arm up to the ceiling, thinking soft T-frame. On an exhale, thread underneath the right armpit, rotating and coming to rest on your left side of the head. Inhale to open back up into your T-frame. Exhale to tuck. Remember to keep your hips stacked over your knees as you come to connect to the mat, and then maybe floating the right arm up to the ceiling and reaching with your fingertips for the ceiling. Inhale to come back. Fill up as you float up. As you tuck under, use your bandhas, your locks on the lower two. See if you can float that hand behind your back. Rotate the palm in, reaching for the opposite hip. Keep gently looking up to the ceiling. Inhale to softly float back to the mat and find your deep squat line. Malasana, stepping the feet out, almost as if you were trying to do a double lizard on the step up. Bring your hands to prayer. Actively use your elbows to open up through the groin area. Keep lengthening, and if coming into a low squat line is not happening for you today, just modify your movement, maybe coming to a midway squat and just bracing the hands softly, trying to maybe push with your palms on the inside of the knees and open up as best you can, trying to lengthen through the spine and not round out, yeah? Play with it, see what works. All right, from here, we're going to ease our way onto the bum and we're going to come to a soft seated frame on the mat. Sit up nice and tall, connecting the soles of your feet to the mat and bracing with your hands softly against the shins. Then softly nodding your chin to your chest, rounding out. Exhale as you come up, lengthening through the spine. Inhale softly to round out, looking for a connection through the pelvic floor, the diaphragm and the chin. And then reversing that movement. Playing with your breath pattern, finding what works for you. So we're changing the breath pattern here slightly as we round out, nodding the chin to the chest. Exhaling as we come up, almost compressing the lower belly area, and then inhaling as we round up. Looking for that connection between those bandhas as you play. And then from here, sitting up nice and tall, tipping the weight back off your tailbone, floating the legs up into a boat line, either softly connecting to your shins, holding behind your thighs, or floating the hands alongside your legs, or coming into a full boat Navasana by extending. Wherever you are, draw up along the inner thighs, pull up strongly from the pelvic floor towards your chest line, whether you're using a little bit of support, whether you're floating in table, or whether you're in the full expression. Then from here, you're softly going to drop into easy sit, leading first with the right leg in front. You're going to place your hands, palms down on the knees, and you're going to start tracing a big circular pattern through your trunk. Inhaling as you come forward, exhaling as you draw back. So allow the chest to open up as you circle forward, and as you round up, pull up from the pelvic floor and squeeze the diaphragm in. And then look for that connection through the lower two bandhas, progressively making your circle bigger and looking for that nice little ujjayi exhalation as you circle. As you pull the diaphragm in and squeeze up through the pelvic floor. Give me a nice purging ujjayi exhalation. One more to this side. Then drop both sets of fingertips to the mat behind you. Uncurl the legs, placing the soles of the feet to the mat. Take a big breath in to prepare on the exhale. Drop both knees to the left as you look to the right. Inhale, come back to the center line. Drop both knees to the right as you look to the left. Find a steady rhythm of your own, moving dynamically through that knee drop. Knife edging the feet as you drop the knees and making both knees as heavy to the mat as you can. On your last one, hold it and maybe hook the knee to the Hook the heel to the outside of the knee and try to hold that little stretch, making both knees nice and heavy to the mat. Then come back to Sukhasana, this time leading with the left leg in front and play with those little Kundalini spirals. This time, making your circle to the left, anti-clockwise. Big breath in, opening through the chest. Exhale as you softly round out, looking for a nice little ujjayi exhalation, pulling up from the pelvic floor and squeezing the diaphragm in towards the midline of the body as you find your rhythm. Think of a nice little spiraling energy beginning at the base of your spine, feeding through all 9 chakras. So starting from the pelvic floor, moving through the reproductive area, through your belly center, through your heart center, through your throat center, through your third eye, and out the crown of your head. Then gently peel back up along the center line. Place both sets of fingertips on the mat behind you. Uncurl the legs, placing the soles of the feet to the mat. Big breath in as you prepare. Drop both knees to the right as you look over the shoulder to your left. Inhale to come back. Exhale to drop to the other side. Get into a little steady breath rhythm of your own, syncing your movement to your breath and looking for that connection through the lower 2 bandhas as you drop the knees to the floor. Use your ujjayi exhalation. Purge all that staleness from the lower viscera. And on your last drop, looking for an opportunity to hook the heel to the outside of the knee, making both knees heavy to the floor, pausing in that little stretch for a beat or 2 longer. And then easing your way back into easy sit, leading with whichever leg is most comfortable for you and floating your hands into lotus mudra by bringing the heel of your palms together, connecting your pinkies and your thumbs and opening up the rest of the fingers towards the ceiling. And just have your little lotus bloom centered in front of your chest. Close your eyes, take your focus in, mindfully dropping the elbows and the shoulders away from your ears and growing and lengthening through the spine, opening up the energy channels through all 9 chakras. Visualize yourself as being that beautiful white lotus blossom floating on its glorious green lily pad, with its petals open and receptive to the sun, taking in that solar energy and through a process of photosynthesis, using it for growth and repair within the plant. But it's not just the sunlight that provides you with that energy for growth and regeneration. Beneath the level of the water, hidden from the naked eye, is a deep root system that anchors that lotus bloom to the pond, not only giving it stability and an anchor, but also giving it constant nourishment and feeding the root system. The symbolism that I want you to take from this mental image and apply to your daily life is to get rid of all the negativity in your life. That includes thoughts, deeds, and people. Create a sense of space and openness where you can take in from your surroundings for your personal growth. But at the same time that you're expanding your wings and finding your growth potential, don't forget your anchoring people, maybe your family, your closest friends, those people that are so important and keep you grounded and keep you real while giving you enough space to fly and to grow. With that thought of positivity, I'd like you to gently float your hands into a soft prayer line in front of your heart and take a moment just to thank yourself for making time to come and play with me today. Namaste to you all. Thank you so much for coming out and playing today. Really hope that you enjoyed today's class. Give me a thumbs up if you did enjoy it. Make sure that you shoot me your comments and your feedbacks in the display window just rather in the comment section just below your video display window, and then remember to subscribe with your notification bell on. I shall see you all for Pilates conditioning on the mat tomorrow. Till then, keep it light.